So even professionals do
We
this.
got video.
It's not just you guys at home, it's professionals do this too.
All right, Tom. Only 20 people saw that. That's okay.
Very good.
We're good.
I'd like to call to order the Shandaken Town Board meeting for September 13th, 2021. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board member Discipline.
Here.
Board member Steen.
Here.
Board member Storms. Board member Van Warkum.
Here.
Supervisor Family.
Here. Entertain a motion for the approval of previous town board meeting
Make
minutes.
that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain because I was absent from the meeting, so I'm unable to validate. Kevin will be helping to run most of the meeting. I will say something during communications. Of course, I'll start with the financial report.
Supervisors, financial report for August 2021. Revenues, police fees $15, vital statistics $60, ambulance fees $6,845.93, town clerk fees Easy Pass $25, cell tower doctor's office rental $1,200, Phoenicia water reimbursement $192.37, building permit fees zoning $4,233.42, dog licenses $61.50, planning board $625, Peekaboo Snysig $580.91, Higley settlement $681.13, cell tower SBA towers $1,339.76, highway revenue $39,800.80, summer rec $150, Ulster County mortgage state aid $99,254.84, sales tax revenue $48,122.92, and sales of equipment $2,825 for a total of $206,013.58.
Thank you. Communications, one, Kevin will be running the meeting this evening. I'm really just here to help with any issues that may arise or protocol may need to be addressed. Here to vote. I don't really have the energy to run the meeting. I'm still dealing with medical issues, and again, thank you all for reaching out to us, but this is an ongoing thing, and appreciate the support me and my family do, certainly. But I ask that you just please give us some time. It is a little bit overwhelming, and we can't answer everybody's phone calls about details and things like that, although I'd like to. We're dealing with it, things are fine. I'm just trying to fix my diet to fix other things, but I'm fine. Everything's good, family's good, thank you, and we're doing well. So please, if you could just limit the phone to what we can. Again, I've been participating with flood response as well, where it can, and we've been coordinating. Kevin and other board members, I want to thank them for all stepping up as well for the many things that they're handling on their own. But again, we're keeping communication going between the board members and between departments as best we can, and we're getting through it. We will have a budget coming out shortly. I don't anticipate major increases. There are a few that are going to come up. One being one of the big issues that's going to come is from the highway department regarding the gravel bank. We did get a report from the DEC that we probably only have about 5 years left on the gravel bank's lifetime, which means that coming shortly, we will be forced to pay for sand and gravel for our roads for winter maintenance. Additionally, the state, and Eric can correct me on this as he gets to this stuff, but the state now is putting something in place where we may be forced to purchase our salt through a vendor provided by them, which obviously is more than likely going to be more than the vendors we use. So it's really in order to, I think it's to do with environmentally clean salt and sanding materials. Again, these are the terms that are coming up and what we're gonna have to follow through on. So those expenses are gonna go up, and as a precursor, we find it wise to probably start adding to the budget now to prepare for those things when they come in 5 years, because these are massive costs. These are somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000 that we can't just plop in a budget, slam, and it'll be a 20% tax increase. So if we ease it in and amortize it over time over the next 5 years, a couple thousand here, a couple thousand there where we can. Also know that materials for road paving, for metal, guide rails, things like that are going up immensely across the nation. So stock supplies are getting more expensive for road maintenance. Equipment is getting more expensive. Replacement parts are getting harder to get. So these are costs that are going to be incurred by the highway department as well as by general over the next coming years. Again, we anticipate this with ambulance and police vehicles coming up as well. But we're preparing for it as best we can, and we will, again, try our best to keep a limit on the budgets as we can. Provide the services and continue providing services for the community at large, and making sure our quality of life does not drop in any way, or so it's sustainable for us longer term. So thank you for your patience, and with that, I'd like to turn it over. I do have an event to mention if there's nobody here from Pine Hill to talk about what's going on there when we come to it. When we get to that point, they'll call out for events and stuff, and I certainly hope to hear from Pine Hill. And it appears that Bel Air is not going to have their fall festival this year. So we are going to have a pretty big weekend, Columbus Day weekend, that is wide open for events to occur. And Pine Hill's got well prepared ahead of it, and I think there's a nice event that they're going to be hosting for that weekend. And it's more than open to others as well. I think we could be a big draw for that weekend and really make a push for that weekend to get some economy going in this town. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kevin to run the rest of the meeting. So thank you again, folks.
So moving on to communications. Looking at the agenda, we have a resolution to support a property in Oliver Road, 609, that was heavily affected by Hurricane Irene, to enter into the New York flood buyout program. We have a couple of police resolutions, one to allow them to enter negotiations pertaining to unionization. We're also accepting the resignation of one Daniel Odendahl and hiring Shadow Williams. We have a resolution to police department. We have a resolution to approve the building department's assessment of 25 Academy Street, which, if you've been following meetings, is one of the unsafe structures in Pine Hill. We're setting a public hearing for next meeting for a logging permit at 6:45, and the ever-present no campaign signage until Columbus Day
Yes.
will be the last one on. Just communications.
Upcoming events.
Yeah.
Okay, the next visit from our mobile vet van will be coming this Saturday, September 18th, 9 a.m. for rabies and distemper shots. No appointment needed, cash only. We have a $25 cat spay program for Shandaken residents. We've got almost 300 cat spays with this program, so we've had it a few years now. You can also have them do surgeries. You give them a call at 901-4637. And for the cat spay certificates, if you live in Shandaken, you stop by my office or call 688-5004. There's a free concert at the Big Indian Park this coming Sunday, September 19th, 3 to 5. Thunder Ridge will be performing. Bring a chair and a friend. Free individual Medicare counseling at the Phoenicia Library on Tuesday, September 21st, 10 to 3. Call for an appointment at the Office of the Aging at 845-340-3456. Phoenicia Supermarket will have a classic car cruise event on Saturday, September 25th, 2 to 6. Bring your classic car, truck, bike, and join them. I didn't bring a new car, no. They could bring a new car too?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
You bring an army tank if you
Well,
want.
they have to be clean and shiny, right? An army tank. Food and drinks and more trophies. More info, call Frank Stapleton at 845-254-4238, or Tammy at the supermarket at 688-2448. Saturday, September 25th, there will be a free Balkan Mountains mini festival at Glenbrook Park on 4 to 7. Sponsored by Ulster Savings Bank and the Phoenicia Library. Give them a call for more info, 688-7811. Two more. Food Bank of the Hudson Valley is offering free weekly bags of groceries for Shandaken kids 18 and under, and their families. They can be delivered by the Phoenicia Library or picked up at the Pine Hill Library. Call either library at 688-7811 or 254-4222 for Pine Hill. Lastly, the next visit of the mobile vet van, the mobile van from the DMV will be Friday, October 1st, 10 to 1, 2 to 3. You can do all your transactions there except CDL licenses and enhanced licenses. It's always here the first Fridays of the month. And we didn't have it for 14 months, so it's not been really busy. Don't be scared, it's fine. So that's it.
Thank you. Pamela, did you want to say something?
Oh, just about Pine Hill Day?
Yep.
So I have a flyer that's gonna be corrected and added to a few things. It's basically Sunday, October 10th, and it's gonna be food, fun, music, the library fair, the Pine Hill Library will be involved, so there'll be a book sale, kids projects, hopefully a band, and libations in the parking lot. And that portion of it, the music and the libations, may go a little bit longer than 10 to 3, but the main event is 10 to 3, and then music going to 4 or 5. That way we can pass everyone on to the wonderful restaurants in town. So this will be going out, we just have to make 1 or 2 additions to it.
But be sure to email me, because I've already posted on the website the other day.
Oh, okay,
And I
it's
didn't have
nothing
to
wrong,
tonight.
it's just added.
Yeah, because it's
exactly.
October, so I'll do that in
Yep.
October.
Okay, perfect.
And just additionally, also what we're doing is that we're opening up Main Street and many of the properties for yard sale for the community. So if you know somebody that's got a parcel there and maybe you want to sell some of your goods, more than welcome to share. Maybe somebody's got a large front driveway or a large area that they can set you up on, or they're willing to let you sit on to do your yard selling. So we can have a big community-wide yard sale at the same time along the streets, and that will create a map for the day. That will go up Bonnie View, Birch Creek, all the streets in Pine Hill and around Pine Hill. Again, I think that's something simple enough that we could just extend into the town and say, everybody yard sale that weekend and have a big kibosh about yard sale. So, that was something extra. It's also, just to add, the Balkan,
It's on there, yeah.
the Balkan event sounds very interesting.
Is that what, did I say it
Balkan
wrong?
Mountains, yes,
I
not
know,
Balkan.
It's not like I
The
know.
Balkan Mountains.
Balkan.
I do know the
Balkan.
American Legion Post, John, I believe, is having a Italian dinner fundraiser on Saturday, the 19th in the evening. Correct? The 18th in the evening as well. And then, of course, you can check with your local parties, the Democrats and I believe the Republicans are both having some kind of barbecue coming up, and it's always good to help support your local political party affiliations. So watch out for events. There's quite a few events. I heard Olive Day was actually quite successful this year, and a bang-up event, if there ever was one. People are looking to get out and really just experience the Catskills and experience events. So get out and about and help support your local businesses, please.
Anything else, guys? No. Just so you all know, we will be entering an executive session after public comment. So you can either go home after that or wait around. Moving on to committee reports, ambulance.
Good evening. August report for the town of Shandaken Ambulance. Total calls received was 37. We did not give mutual aid. We received mutual aid once. This past month was an incredibly busy one for the ambulance service, and call volume was unbelievable during the weekends. As it's great to see new faces visiting the town, the continuing issues that stem from our adventurous transient population is incredibly taxing upon our existing services. One weekend, for example, we found ourselves with a hiker rescue call that dedicated our resources for 6 hours. And we had 3 life-threatening calls for service in our district during that time frame. One call required multiple ambulances from as far as the town of Hurley for transport of 5 unstable patients. Thankfully, off-duty ambulance employees were able to staff our second ambulance and handle all the other calls with the exception of the multiple patient incident. Many thanks to those ambulance employees who came in off-duty and our neighboring emergency responders who came to assist as well. Believe it or not, once the hiker was extricated from the woods by a state police helicopter, the patient refused medical attention and walked away. At the sake of sounding like a broken record, if you come to hike, please know what you're doing. If If something happens when you're in the wilderness, you're not only putting rescuers at risk at an incredible expense, both figuratively and literally, but you are tying up resources that could be used to help others in need. Please exercise some common sense. The COVID update, as of September 13th, there are 698 active cases of COVID in Ulster County. This is up significantly. There are 8 active cases in the town of Shandaken at this time. Total cumulative cases in the town since the beginning of the pandemic have reached 127, with 119 thankfully recovered. Also, thankfully, to date, we have had no fatalities. Total cumulative cases in the county have reached 17,501, with 698 active cases and 274 fatalities. 16,529 cases have successfully recovered. Thank you very much. It was good to see you back.
Building and zoning.
Okay, the building and zoning report for August 2021. Building permits issued were 23, building inspections 32, certificates of occupancy 1, certificates of compliance 5, 3 stop work orders, and 2 violation letters, and the income for the month was $4,960.
Police.
We handled 160 calls of service for the month and 6 arrests. And we have 2 resolutions tonight. Unionization of the police department, which as the police chief I support. And the second one is Officer Owendahl is, he moved on to another police department full-time in the town of Ulster. And he actually lives down in that area, and he got hired by the town of Rosendale. They make a little bit more money than what we make up here. So I just want to thank him for his service. He was a great asset to us. I'm sorry to see him go, but Shadow Williams is another up-and-coming shining star, and he'll be an asset to our community as well. Local guy, lives right over the Delaware County line, and he also works for the town of Olive. So he'll be with us for a while. That's all I got. Thank you.
I don't see anybody from Phoenicia Water. Donnie's not here from Pine Hill Water. Museum.
Anyone can read it or stand up?
Stand up.
Hi, my name is Bill Andrews. I'm the treasurer of the Shandaken Historical Museum. I'm here along with board members Mary Lou Stapleton and Richard Gutierrez. We'd like for you to realize some facts that we've prepared for your calendar budget 2022. The economic benefit of the museum and the Pine Hill Library is more than $500,000 to the town of Shandaken. And that assumption is based on the fact that between the museum and the library, more than 5,000 visitors and residents use this facility in a year and spend at least $100 in a year. Both the museum and the library are in needed repair, and because some of these repairs are considered emergency and are not being made at the museum, there's major liability exposure to the taxpayers of Shandaken. Our director at the museum is not being paid what she should be. She's being paid at a rate of $13 per hour, which is less than the minimum wage. Walmart and McDonald's pay much more. But despite the pandemic, she was a stable force that provided inspiration to many of the residents and visitors by preserving and posting the history of Shandaken on Facebook during this pandemic. And I was told today that she received 4 boxes of material from Phoenicia because the principal just wanted to disregard it. And the resident of Phoenicia was so disturbed, he brought the 4 boxes to her, and she's making space to try to make sure that this history is not lost. A lot of it involves Little League trophies and so forth that many of the residents used to play and whatever in the Little League had won, and they, you know, there's no reason for this stuff to be thrown out, but it was gonna be. Now, Councilman Cern, you visited, I understand, the museum,
I did.
and you have a record, and you've seen some of the things that we're facing there.
I actually have something to pass around to the board members right here.
Very good, so there's no need for me to go into that list. Now, I have a question for the members. Have you received any COVID money?
Yes.
So, we at the board, if you receive this COVID money, we're hoping that you'll use some of this money to make these emergency repairs at the museum and also some at the library, and that you will upgrade her salary to at least $18 to $20 an hour. She's working 88 hours a month. She's cleaning the floors. She's mopping windows and everything, mopping floors. And this just doesn't make sense to be paying somebody that's doing that much work $13 an hour. So I hope that some of these information, I'm glad that our liaison was there, and hopefully you members will take that in consideration, because the economic impact from the museum is tremendous, and we're providing history when we're long gone, that many of our children or grandchildren will say, oh yeah, that happened in Shandaken. We have great history here. And the museum is the one to preserve that. So I hope you take that into your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kyle, do you want to talk a little bit about what you have?
Yeah, I just have some things here. I printed out some pictures. They have a little minor description on some of the things that need to be taken care of maintenance-wise at the museum. If you'd just like to take a quick look, just maybe to get the ball rolling on those.
So, and to put it in perspective for those of you who can't see the photos, these are things that have been issues. We had hired somebody to do the fixer-upper projects. It's been a weird couple of years. They never showed up for the job. They weren't paid, so it's not like they took the money and ran. But we're in the process of trying to find somebody to come and fix those, whether it's the steps, the railings. You said there's a coal pipe, right?
There's some
Water damage.
There's some water damage. There's an old coal chute that has a crack in it that leaks water down to the basement. That possibly maybe some. It's just a suggestion. Some hydraulic cement, maybe someone who's familiar with that kind of stuff. Hopefully that can solve the problem. But there's a few issues that definitely need to be taken care of. Chimney cap, I believe, needs to be put on, and railings as well as a light fixture. Things of these nature. Just a few things that need to be taken care of.
Well, one of the things that's simple is she's mopping the floors with cold water. She doesn't have hot water.
Can I just address a few items?
Yes, sir.
All right, Joe, just historically, what was supposed to transpire was that the museum was to establish itself as a 501c3. The reason they were going to establish as a 501c3 is because then we would provide them a stipend, and the personnel costs and contractual costs would be given as a one-time stipend to the museum to benefit whatever they see fit, whether they wanted to put this amount to personnel or this amount to contractual, so be it. The town would still maintain the building and do repairs in the building. It was our understanding that you had hired someone called Robert Sass. Mr. Sass has just not shown up for a period of months, and that's the last we knew, is that Mr. Sass was to come to do some work, to look at this, to do assessments, and then people weren't showing up to do that. Ourselves, we are having difficulty getting laborers. I can tell you right now, we have a window behind Mr. Blydenberg right there that's out. It's been out for about a month and a half, or a year and a half. And we have been unable to get a contractor to secure to just put a piece of glass in the window. The gentleman that came here to fix the windows downstairs by the highway department and do the floors came from Poughkeepsie because we could not find local contractors to do the work. It's difficult to find people to work in this day and age. We understand that. And the town board's ready to help you And we will pay for the building because it is our building. So that doesn't come out of your contractual costs and has nothing to do with the monies that are paid by the taxpayer to you. It's monies that are paid to us for building expenses to maintain our properties throughout the town. We offer the same with the museum, and again, same thing in the museum where they've had an issue with mold in the basement, and we're gonna get their own person to address it. The person never showed up. 3 months later, we learn the person didn't show up, and then we're told to go find a contractor now. Well, we're in the same boat. We can't find anybody to do it. It's very difficult. So we'll continue pressing to find these things and see if we can resolve them. Absolutely. As far as as the director's salary goes, I happen to be in the office today to learn that not only was she not being paid enough, but she was not being paid enough because she wasn't being given the proper hours. What we did is we increased her hours to 4 days at 6-hour days. Those 6-hour days at $13 an hour would equate to about $16,250 per year. She did not work some weekends, so when she did not work for a weekend for 4 days, there was no pay to be given. So if you amortize out what she spent out so far this year, that amortization is not gonna equal 16,000, it's gonna equal more like 14,000, because that's what she got so far this year, because there was a number of weekends that were closed, okay? So that being said, as well as know that we have staff in this building that are working on $1 million contracts that are not getting $15 an hour. The minimum wage currently is $12.80. She's making $13, so she is technically above minimum wage. Now we have it that way because there's certain jobs within the town, museum director, recycling coordinator, the cleaning man is kind of close to the minimum wage. I think he's at minimum wage. So we have those set in place. Now, it was due to go as an increase this year for her budget because obviously there's gonna be another increase to the minimum wage and we have to meet those standards at least, if not a little bit more. Now, when I do it comparatively and I look at ladies that are handling upwards of $5 million and trying to balance that as well as handle the paychecks and the payroll and the issues and the human resources issues and the day-to-day operations of the town, getting $14, $15 an hour, and I have a museum director that's getting $13 an hour. I think that's fair for the town of Shandaken. That's what we can muster. This isn't McDonald's. If you want a job at McDonald's, it's 30 miles down the road, you can go to McDonald's and get a job. I'm not saying it's horrible. I wish it was better. I wish we were paying a living wage here. I wish that some of the ladies that have been working here for 25 years were getting more than $16 or $17 an hour after what they've been handling. So, and especially with the COVID. They worked straight through the COVID without expense, without extra pay, without hazard pay, offered to volunteer with food services and so on, and a number of people did this throughout the town, volunteered their time and efforts. So, we will do our best by the museum. We will take care of the building as best we can. We will try to find a contractor. So with that, we put out the all call for any contractors that can assist us. And we have many, many small jobs throughout the town on buildings, and we pay. We have the money in the bank, so we can pay, we can sign the checks. It's not that hard, and some of them are real small jobs. I mean, we're talking about concrete getting filled, we're talking about flashing around a chimney, we're talking about little things here and there. There are some larger jobs that need to be addressed. Mold in the basement of the Pine Hill Library is one. But these are things that are gonna take time, and we will, what's that?
Mold in the basement got addressed.
Mold in the basement got addressed, see? So these things do happen, they're gonna take time. But if there's a plan of action set in place, we anticipate that plan of action will be followed through. And I have heard nothing more on the 501c3 being established. We were trying to find an easier way where we weren't gonna be involved in the personnel matter, and that would simply fall onto the museum. Because I think there was something when you had your 501c3 that then they would, like I recall talking to Mary Lou about a paychecks company and getting some assistance to help do the payroll for the museum's behalf in order for you guys to handle it on your own instead of us handling it. Because then they would be an employee of the museum. Now, the Phoenicia Library, I know, pays their librarians somewhere in the neighborhood of what you're talking about in an hourly wage. That's on them. We don't hire them, they're not our employee. But I can't justify my ladies and men that are working in departments, be it the highway, police department, all that, to say that I'm gonna have somebody working in a museum for $16 or $18 an hour when I have a starting police officer at $20 an hour, or 21. Is that fair? I mean,
What I wanted to know is, with the COVID money, would you be able to supplement?
there's things we can do with the COVID money, but our first priority, I believe, is to, one, recoup monies that we expended beyond our capabilities at the time. We did extend ourselves quite a bit. We gave an emergency fund of $5,000 to the food pantry immediately upon learning of the COVID and the need for people being homebound and so on. We had costs that we incurred regarding other food programs. We had extra hours that were done at the ambulance squad and police departments in response to dealing with COVID positive patients during the time. We had to sterilize ambulances for an additional 3 to 4 hour periods where we had to pay overtime to the personnel to do those things. We do see the need in the future that if God forbid another pandemic hits, we need a place that we can do these sterilizations. So those are things that are gonna take priority. Next, we were even discussing, even today, about possibilities of this funding. And I mean, it's $300 and something thousand total. We've received 100 and something so far. And we're trying to calculate what to get our expenses, and we'll do it in the proper way. But one of them is biggest complaint is communication network. And I think that expansion of the communication network is one of those things that we need to focus on first and foremost out of that COVID money, to see if we can get a standard communication network throughout this town, at least Wi-Fi, so people can have that communication with all these kids that are learning homeschool, all the remote learning, whatever it may be. They need to have this option. So those are things that we're looking at in immediacy at the front. The expenses you're talking about don't need to fall within the COVID response, and you have to justify some way, some shape, some form that this is going to help you in the future in response, or your community at large in response to a possible pandemic or emergency issues that may arise. So the building itself, we've already sworn and we will continue to maintain. There's no need for emergency funding, except if it goes beyond something. If it's something astronomical, obviously we have a good neighbor fund that we can put into it. We're certainly willing to work with the museum and museum personnel to continue that operation. We do see it as an asset for the community. Aside from that, it's still under the auspices of the town as long as it does. She retains being our employee. Unless you set up as a 501c3 and become a separate entity, then we can discuss it further. Until such time, they're gonna be beholden to this board and what we see fit as being a proper salary and time committable for that job. From say to say. That's cold hard facts.
And needless to say, Councilman Steen is taking a very much hands-on approach to helping you guys out. So hopefully we can get this resolved, at least some of these problems in the very near future.
Appreciate it.
So if I advertise on Facebook looking for contractors to do work at the museums, can I give Kyle's email as a contact, just to get balls rolling?
Well, we need to see a bid, it depends on how.
Yeah, just like if you'd be your liaison, that'll help.
I can let them know which,
And then they
You can
post-
certainly collect it, yeah, he can
Yeah.
act as the head.
Yeah, this way, you get it going, and then you can contact them, and then you guys can also, of course, look for contractors, and just,
Yeah, that's,
and then keep in touch with Kyle.
it's fine by me.
Yeah.
And if it becomes a sizable job, like a couple of
Yeah,
grand,
then
then
you
it's
gotta
something
go
that
out
the
to
board
bid.
has to discuss at large.
That's
So.
if we can find enough people to bid. Well, we only get one usually.
we just didn't want that, we hear all the time because it is a historical building, that some of these repairs can't be done or whatever. There's always a way.
It's nonsense, there's always.
Yeah.
How big is that crack in that chute?
It's big enough to the water.
Can you use Flex Seal on it?
I don't think so.
No.
Because
Of course
Robert,
it's
Robert,
Yeah,
Robert
Oh, but
Sayers
it's
did
worth it.
something, before, speaking again.
Just seal it right up and just have it show.
Yeah, we can do that.
And a lot of the stuff with this
Top
store,
on the top of the chimney is not big enough to make the water to go, outside of
Well-
it, so it's going down. And there is no flashing around the chimney at all.
a lot of the stuff, it just has to be, it has to have the look, the historic look. It doesn't necessarily have to be workable. It doesn't have to work as a
No,
cold
it
sheet.
doesn't have to work at all.
We don't have cold. It's the first problem.
Like the steamroller, just looks nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You mentioned, you had no hot water.
Right,
Yeah.
she's,
That, I thought we had a plumber that was going on. You have an instant hot.
We haven't had hot water since we got the new furnace. It worked for a while and then that was it.
Yeah, there's an undermount hot water heat. I'll take a look tomorrow. I can stop by. It's probably a plug or something that's blown. It's an undermount under the sink. It's right there. It's a little electric thing. It should be right under the sink.
Is it on demand?
Yeah, it's on me. It's a little tiny thing, same as they got in the library.
Oh.
A little square box sits under the seat.
I would like to, say something. We have a roller now at the museum that, the town was kind enough to bring up there and set there on some stone for us. The roller is approximately a 1927 roller like that was used to make the roads in Pine Hill. So this is a new display exhibit we have, and we're in the process of researching it to make sure we have all the right information. There's some plates on it, underneath that we're really, trying to see if we can read them and so we can get the accurate information. And we're gonna have a kiosk put up next to the roller. I mean, there was an endurance run in 1903 where they had, I'm not sure if they're Model A's or Model T's, that they went all the way up through Delhi and everything, but there is an actual picture in 1903 of these cars sitting in Pine Hill, approximately where the butcher shop just burned down. And so this, is a lot more history that we have.
Yeah, that's Robert, what Leibowitz and his endurance run, it's
Yes,
it's a special
Robert,
vehicle.
yes, he
It's
does
not
do that.
It's not a fleet, it's something else, it's some other vehicle. It's a special vehicle that did that endurance run, I forget what it's called, but it's very cool when they come through, they do it every
Yeah.
year.
We want to thank Eric and all the highway department because they did an excellent job and really appreciate it, Eric. You're back there someplace.
Yeah, one little announcement, the director told me that the Discovery Channel contacted her and they're asking for information about the Phoenicia Hotel and it's gonna be a whole big to-do about it.
That's Schultz.
Maybe we'll stay there, so.
Everybody's gonna be putting up next to oak trees, Eric, get ready.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to recreation, it's been a exciting and frustrating month for recreation where we started installing the dog park fence just to find out that we were shorted on a couple of gate posts. So still waiting on those. So you see that the top rails are on, the tension wire is on, but there is no fence. So that should be resolved in the next week or so. I have a volunteer lined up. It was really disheartening that when we put out the call for volunteers, only one person showed up. So big shout out to Don DeAris. I had to wrangle in my parents to come and help me, so that was cool. The other thing is the disc golf course in Beginning Park is under installation. We have 2 of the 3 holes in. The 3rd one will be in the next couple weeks.
What is that?
Disc golf. It's you throw them in a big
Frisbee.
basket. Frisbee golf.
We didn't know nothing about it.
John Micheloti's all over it.
He is.
Yep. And it's very
back
unintrusive, don't worry.
It's back towards the corner, it's away from everything.
But that's been a good project.
You got enough room for the cars, it doesn't interfere with cars.
They're gonna throw those
I know exactly where you're
cars very
going.
low. They're gonna hit 'em.
Yeah, we're gonna get 100 cars.
It doesn't,
wait
they're
1
just
minute.
little stanchions with the thing that we can pop out at any moment too.
In addition, we're still looking for a parish park manager, parish field manager. So if anybody's interested, it's a volunteer position. Feel free to contact Town Hall.
Mount Shepard's about to be turned over to town.
Yeah, so with the bridge project finishing, we are thinking of establishing a park in Mount Tremper that's gonna be turned over to the town. So I have a couple of members in the crowd that are already part of the committee. We're looking for committee members for residents of Mount Tremper who have good ideas of what the direction of that park will be. Also, feel free to reach out to the town. Moving on to public comments on resolutions. Perfect.
Where is this property that's buyout for 609 Ellery Road? Where is that?
Next door to you.
The
What's that?
maple syrup.
Oh, it's the maple syrup
Yeah.
property?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't think we have any motions. Moving on to resolutions.
Going into executive session? Are we going into executive session?
Yeah, well, we'll make the motion after public comment.
Oh, yeah, you wanna do that as a motion? I'd like to add a motion, it's something that Eric's been working on for about 2 months with the civil service. We have a need, it's a title within, highway department. We have, what's called a heavy machine equipment operator, which is just above laborer. And we have the need, right? And we have a need for a position.
Title in the middle.
Is, there's,
So the titles we have now are labor and HMEO. We want
Yeah.
to put an MEO in
So-
the middle.
that's what I was getting at.
We need to work
That's
that
we're trying to create a position in between laborer and heavy machine operator because it can include certain people without a CDL, with the CDL, without the higher level CDL, that we can get working at a range between the two. Otherwise, we have to bump them up to the higher mechanical operator, which is more money for us, more testing for us now, and a higher level licensing and testing that they have to go through. So we're creating what's called machine equipment operator position between the two. I do not have the paperwork here. We did get an email from Civil Service from CSEA regarding the language, as well as from the county regarding the language. So following that language and in agreement with the language provided by CSEA and by Ulster County personnel, we'd like to establish the position of MEO to be fit within the contract as designated through the salaries designated within the document sent to CSEA and approved by the members of the Highway Department and added into the existing contract, but shall not exceed anything written within the contract or salaries within the contract as it exists.
That's an awfully long motion.
It is.
Yeah,
We've
we
got-
recorded it.
So we got recordings.
So it's basically gonna be a machine equipment operator in adherence to CSEA and Ulster County personnel requirements.
Yes,
So you make the motion to name this title for the Shandaken Highway Department.
yes.
Okay.
Second.
Sure.
Second that.
It took a while for the CSEA to get us the proper wording in their part of the contract. So it took 2 months.
So do a roll call on it. Joyce.
Yeah,
We have a second from
a
Peter.
second from Peter. And all in favor?
Aye.
Kyle?
Yes.
Frank? Kevin? Rob?
Yes.
All in favor?
Cool. Moving on to resolutions.
All right, resolution 10221, resolution to pay all bills, whereas the Department of Audit and Control require town boards to sign and inspect all vouchers coming into the town for payment to number and total amounts from each fund. Therefore, be it resolved that the town board authorize the following vouchers paid: from general, $127,959.79, from highway, $183,263.38, Phoenicia Water, $17,905.94, Pine Hill Water, $30, Phoenicia Lights, $989.99, Chichester Lights, $156.52, Pine Hill Lights, $625.24, Shandaken Septic, SMB, $3,895.53, for a total of $334,825.29, and I move its adoption.
Second.
Board Member Discofani?
Yes.
Board Member Steen?
Yes.
Board Member Storms?
Yes.
Board Member Van Barnett?
Yes.
Supervisor Stanley?
Yes.
Resolution 10321, supporting participation in the New York City funded flood buyout program for 609 Oliveria Road, Shandaken, New York. Sorry, I wrote the
What'd you do?
resolutions this
Oh,
evening,
yeah.
so they're all jacked up.
Mine says Alberta, New York.
Yeah, it does after the.
It's all redundant. Anyway, whereas the town of Shandaken is subject to flooding that can damage property, close roads, disrupt traffic, and present a public health and safety hazard, and whereas at the request of local communities, funding from New York City Department of Environmental Protection, DEP, is being made available to help property owners who qualify for the New York City funded flood buyout program, NYCF-FBO, based on eligibility criteria in 5 categories. 1, hydraulic study properties recommended by engineering analysis. 2, CWC flood hazard mitigation implementation program. 3, community approved stream management project. 4, erosion hazard, and 5, inundation hazard. And whereas the town of Shandaken has conducted a local flood analysis, LFA, including a hydraulic analysis of flooding in the town, and the LFA recommends certain properties that are subject to repetitive flooding damages should be considered for flood buyout. And whereas the property at 609 Oliveria Road, Oliveria, New York, 12410, SBL 12.18-1-8, has been recommended for consideration for buyout in the LFA, and the town has been approached by Herbert E. and Kathleen A. Van Buren, the owners of the property, requesting to participate in the New York City flood-funded buyout program under the hydraulic study category. And whereas the town of Shandaken has the option to decline ownership of the property, choosing instead that the city of New York own the property, but has the desire to own this property for future flood mitigation activities. And whereas the town of Shandaken understands that this town-owned property will be managed by the town in conjunction with the reuse plan prepared by the town that identifies the community's long-term plan for management use and development of this parcel, all activities are to be subject and to be consistent with the restrictions in flood-prone areas identified in the second supplemental agreement among West of Hudson watershed stakeholders concerning the New York City funded flood buyout program, page 5, 1A, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town of Shandaken Town Board approves County of Ulster homeowners of 609 Oliveria Road, Oliveria, New York 12410 to apply for the New York City funded flood buyout program to permanently remove this flood hazard risk, allowing the DEP to begin assisting them in the real estate process. Be it further resolved, the Town of Shandaken Town Board opts to retain ownership of the parcel for future flood mitigation activities and move its adoption.
I'll second.
Board Member DeScalani?
Yes.
Board Member Steen?
Yes.
Board Member Storm?
Yes.
Board Member Van Marken?
Yes.
Supervisor Serna?
Yes.
I'll fix that.
Resolution 104-21, resolution to recognize representation and to negotiate. Whereas the town board of the town of Shandaken hereby voluntarily recognizes that Council 82 New York State Law Enforcement Officers Union, AFSCME, AFL-CIO, has been designated and selected by a majority of the employees of the town of Shandaken Police Department in the unit agreed upon by the parties and described below as their exclusive representative for the purpose of collective negotiations and the settlement of grievances. Included, all paid and part-time police officers. Excluded, chief of police, part-time employees opting out, and all other employees of the town of Shandaken. Whereas the town board of the town of Shandaken shall negotiate collectively with Council 82. The duty to negotiate collectively includes the mutual obligation to meet at reasonable times and confer in good faith with respect to wages, hours, and other terms and conditions of employment, or the negotiation of an agreement, or any question arising thereunder, and the execution of a written agreement incorporating any agreement reached if requested by either party. Therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Shandaken recognize Council 82, New York State Law Enforcement Officers Union, AFSCME, AFL-CIO, to be exclusive representative for the purpose of collective negotiations and the settlement of grievances of the included members of the town of Shandaken Police Department. And I move its adoption.
Second.
Board Member DeScalani?
Yes.
Board Member Steen?
Yes.
Board Member Storm?
Yes.
Board Member Van Marken?
Yes.
Supervisor Serna?
Yes.
Resolution number 105-21, Town Police Department. Whereas the town of Shandaken is a town of the second class, and whereas there's a town police department, and whereas the town board is accepting the resignation of part-time officer Daniel Odendahl, and whereas an officer has been recommended by the police commissioners to be hired part-time, therefore be it resolved that pursuant to the town law of the state of New York, section 21B, the town board hereby appoints the following individuals as part-time police officers to receive compensation as indicated for officers completing training academy. Individual remains responsible for associated costs of said training and education. Name, Shadow Williams, compensation at $21.10 per hour. And that said, police officers shall have all powers conferred upon police officers by the general laws of the state of New York, including but not limited to, and such powers not inconsistent with law as are hereinafter set forth, and that said police officers shall have all powers designated in section 2.20 of the Criminal Procedure Law of the state of New York, and shall have the following special duties. 1. To enforce all local laws, ordinances, and regulations of the town of Shandaken. 2. To enforce the vehicle and traffic law of the state of New York, and to the extent that police officers may be so permitted by the general laws of the state of New York. 3. To enforce such penal statutes, is that right?
Yeah,
Statutes?
that's right.
As police officers are permitted to enforce pursuant to general laws of the state of New York, and in furtherance of said special duties, police officers are hereby authorized the use of a town vehicle to be known as a police officer's vehicle, which may be equipped with emergency lights in accordance with applicable sections of the vehicle and traffic law, and may use the state and county radio to the extent permitted by the general laws of the state of New York, and may carry firearms while on duty in compliance with the general laws of the state of New York pertaining to the police officers generally. And move its adoption.
Second.
Board Member DeScalani?
Yes.
Board Member Steen?
Yes.
Board Member Storm?
Yes.
Board Member Van Walken?
Yes.
Supervisor Sam?
Yes.
Resolution 10621, approve assessment of fee on building 25 Academy Street, Pine Hill. Whereas the town building department has deemed a dwelling at 25 Academy Street, Pine Hill, SBL 4.46-1-24.100 as an unsafe structure, and whereas there has been sufficient evidence provided to the town board to support such a designation, and whereas it is the responsibility of the town building department to make such an assessment with the town board's approval. Therefore, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Shandaken approves the building department's assessment of 25 Academy Street, Pine Hill, and I move its adoption.
I'll second.
Board Member DeScalani?
Yes.
Board Member Steen?
Yes.
Board Member Storm?
Yes.
Board Member Van Walken?
Yes.
Supervisor Sam?
Resolution 107-21, resolution setting public hearing for logging permit. Whereas the town of Shandaken requires that any logging permit in excess of 100,000 board feet be approved through motion of the town board of Shandaken, and whereas the Branch 7 Bergen Company, 312 Rose Mountain Road, Beginning, New York, SBL 4.1-6 and 4.1-7 is requesting such a permit for removal of lumber on their property. Therefore, be it resolved, the town board of the town of Shandaken will hold a public hearing on said logging permit prior to the regularly scheduled meeting on Monday, October 4th, 2021 at 6:45 p.m. at Town Hall, 7209 Route 28, Shandaken, New York, to hear all comments for or against, and move its adoption.
Second.
Board Member DeScalani?
Yes.
Board Member Steen?
Yes.
Board Member Storm?
Yes.
Board Member Van Walken?
Yes.
Supervisor Sam?
Yes. Just to add, folks, this is somebody who's done this before. This is a controlled logging permit. They've done it before, and I assume, Eric, that during the process, we're probably gonna require a bond for Rose Mountain Road to protect it, and as I said, we haven't had to use it before, I don't believe. So they've taken care of the road and done a fair job of cleaning up afterwards. Just know that they're familiar to us, and they do this regularly for a number of 488 programs throughout the town where people have conservation easements on their property.
Resolution 108-21, resolution requesting no campaign signage until after Columbus Day, which is October 11th, 2021. Whereas the town of Shandaken recognizes the importance of preserving its natural beauty and viewscapes throughout the town. And whereas Columbus Day weekend is recognized as a highly desirable time for visitors to travel to our area and enjoy the pristine beauty of Shandaken. Therefore, the town board of Shandaken requests that campaign signs for the general election, regardless of party affiliation or contest, not be displayed until after Columbus Day, Monday, October 11th, 2021, and I move its adoption.
Second.
Board Member DeScalani?
Yes.
Board Member Steen?
Yes.
Board Member Storm?
Yes.
Board Member Van Walken?
Yes.
Supervisor Sam?
Yes.
All right, on to open public comment. Joe.
Joseph Bidell, I just want to ask Rob Stanley about that salt. You mentioned at the beginning that you're going to have to buy the salt from a state supplier. Is it going to be same salt with the dirt you're using now, or something
You can
different?
discuss that with the gentleman who holds the position in 5 to 6 years when we get required to buy this stuff.
Yeah, it's down.
It's down the road.
Yeah, but I want to know now, is there any way to
Now we're
find
still
out?
using the same salt and sand that we've been using.
Okay.
The salt may change, the salt may change.
So Main Street Pioneer is gonna be different than Main Street in Phoenicia,
It's
Frenchman,
different
Margaret, it's gonna be dirty again.
Because
That's what I
it's
mean.
local versus county versus state.
Okay,
There's different sources that are coming in to do those things.
okay.
So they'll
Just to make sure it's gonna be dirty again.
No, it's consistent, it's consistent with the town roads and other town roads. We're using the same salt and sand on your road
Not,
as we're using
not
on the
the
local road.
same in Phoenicia.
We don't do Phoenicia, that's what I said, Phoenicia is county.
Okay,
It's
so
the same sand and salt finish it, just goes on more Pine Hill, but doesn't finish it. That's what it's-
Because we get a lot more snow.
Pine Hill's on a hill.
So it's-
We've been through this before. When they go to purchase it, Joe, I'll make sure that the highway superintendent at the time gets in touch with you.
Okay.
Talks to the salt saving content and silica. You talk to silica in the face, okay? It's a little joke, silica in the face.
Anybody else? Cool. Okay, with that, I will make a motion to enter a executive session
Second.
This is regarding
regarding a staffing issue within the town, as well as
personnel matter.
personnel matter and a issue in the Shandaken septic maintenance district.
You're up.
Ready? Entertain a motion to close executive session or reopen the regular town board meeting.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
And what was the outcome?
Town board came to a decision regarding a personnel matter. We will address it with that person over the next day or two. And we believe a resolve is reached, and we will make announcement accordingly upon notification of the employer.
With that, we're going to do the in memory of, and we're also going to finish with a standing moment of silence in honor of those lost during 9/11. So I'd like to adjourn town board meeting in memory of Joan Herdman Finch, Robert Jones Sr., and please rise. Entertain a motion to close the town board meeting.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
That's long enough, Sandy. Nothing's starting to